turning into the wicked stepmother. I'm presently tormenting my stepson. The frail stepson would eventually become a dominant CEO, and he would incarcerate and insult me to death. My hand clutching the belt suddenly trembled. Disciplining you is for your own good, dear. Can you understand mother's good intentions? The moment I opened my eyes, I found a 6 or 7-year-old boy standing beside my bed. It was late autumn, yet he was only wearing a thin t-shirt, his tiny body shivering in the cold wind. A pair of jet black eyes filled with hatred and murderous intent. Yes, I saw a murderous intent in a little boy. I startled. Then I remembered. I had entered into a brisk urban novel and became the wicked stepmother of the male protagonist, Jiang Shi. Jiang Shi would later grow up to become a dominant CEO who would put me in jail, tormenting me for 3 years and eventually beat me to death. As I glanced at the belt in my hands, I swallowed with difficulty. If you have the guts, just kill me. Otherwise, when my dad returns, I'll have him fire you. Jiang Shi clenched his fists, glaring at me with gritted teeth. I blinked my eyes, forcing out 2 tears, then immediately jumped over to hug Jiang Shi. I'm disciplining you for your own good, dear. Can you understand mother's good intentions? Jiang Shi froze, quickly struggling in my arms, his little face going red with rage. What tricks are you playing now, you wicked woman? Never mind. You're still too young to understand all of this. When you grow up, you'll comprehend mother's reasons. In the original story, Jiang Shi secretly sneaked off to a convenience store outside the residential area to steal food and was caught red-handed by the security guard. This event embarrassed her, and she scolded and beat him when they got home. All I could do was pretend to wipe away tears, help Jiang Shi up, and look for clothes for him from the wardrobe. However, I found that all the clothes in the wardrobe were mine. All kinds of luxury brands were well stocked. Jiang Shi's clothes, on the other hand, were shoved carelessly in a corner, still those of last year's old clothes. I flapped open a t-shirt that had been washed till it was nearly white and had several holes around the cuffs. Jiang Shi snatched the clothes from my hand and put them on. I don't need your fake kindness, wicked woman. After Jiang Shi finished dressing, he appeared even more frail and weak, looking exactly like a pitiful child who had been abused. Feeling awkward, I tried to explain. Spoiling children with wealth does not equate to indulgence. By making you eat and wear less, mommy is training your willpower, preparing you for managing everything on your own in the future. Do you understand? The explanation was far-fetched, but it was better than nothing. I could only hope to deceive him while he was still young. Jiang Shi rolled his eyes and said, "Psh, wicked woman, do you think I am a 3-year-old child?" Jiang Shi turned around and left the room, heading for the kitchen to find something to eat, leaving me to trail after him. We lived in a villa on the outskirts of the city, and Jiang Shi's father, Jiang Muiyuan, was a chief scientist with a classified state project. Jiang Shi's biological mother had died from a difficult childbirth, and Jiang Muiyuan was often shuttling between different research institutions and did not have time to take care of the young child. So he wanted to find someone to help look after him. A widowed man with a son was not an appealing prospect for anyone except for me, Su Jin, a spoiled, willful girl from a wealthy family. Despite my parents' objections, I was determined to marry the handsome Jiang Muiyuan. Unbeknownst to me, shortly after our wedding, he was recruited for a national key project and stationed permanently at a secret base. He left me and Jiang Shi alone at home. I was filled with resentment and had nowhere to vent it, so I took it out on Jiang Shi. Jiang Shi, being stubborn, never showed weakness, and over time, it spiraled into the current situation. Jiang Shi was huddled in the corner of the grand mansion's balcony, fiddling with a tablet and secretly wiping away tears. I wanted to comfort him, but I heard him muttering, "This is the bad woman's phone. I want to smash it. This is the bad woman's sports car. I want to wreck it." Jiang Shi was aggressively swiping on the tablet as if venting his dissatisfaction. A shiver ran through me, and I could only retreat from the balcony and pace the corridor to ponder. Isn't pleasing a child about giving them some treats and toys? Rolling up my sleeves, I walked into the kitchen to prepare dinner. Busy in front of the food prep area, Jiang Shi already took his boxed meal from the fridge and put it in the microwave to heat up. Don't eat that today. Have dinner with Mom. As soon as I finished speaking, Jiang Shi defensively hugged his boxed meal. Wicked woman, what are you up to now? Jiang Shi harbors deep animosity towards me. Whatever I do, he perceives it as me causing harm to him. Ignoring the scorching hot meal, he hastily shoveled it into his mouth. Never mind, his resentment runs deep. I would have to take it step by step. The next morning, I only woke up when the sun was 3 poles high and found that Jiang Shi was already back home with his school bag. He was playing with something in the garden. Jiang Shi often listened to lessons from outside the fence of the private school next door during breaks. And when discovered by the children inside, he would always be ridiculed and driven away. All Jiang Shi could do was to return home dejectedly. However, he was intelligent and had a photographic memory. After meeting the female protagonist, with her financial support, he managed to get into a prestigious school. And at just 18 years old, he got accepted into an Ivy League university with all A's grades, which marked his stepping stone to success. I walked over and squatted down beside Jiang Shi. Do you want to go to school? Jiang Shi turned his head away, throwing away the twig in his hand onto the ground. I don't want to. Really don't want to? I show a disappointed face. I thought you were a promising seed of learning, prepared to send you to an aristocratic school. Alas, it seems that I was wishful thinking. I stand up. A pair of small hands covered with dirt immediately clasp my skirt tightly, hope twinkling in Jiang Shi's pitch-black eyes. What do you mean? You're willing to send me to school? After grasping for a few seconds, Jiang Shi released his hand again, and the light in his eyes dimmed instantly. Forget it. You must be plotting something again. I won't be tricked again. Jiang Shi had expressed more than once his desire to go to school. But how could I agree to send him to school when I didn't even provide him with decent food? Once, neighbor Wang's wife told me that Jiang Shi was smart and quick-witted, remembered everything after hearing it once, and was a promising learner. After I listened to this, I severely reprimanded Jiang Shi. Do you think you're worth going to school? I'll have you know it's already good enough that I allow you to live and feed you. If you dare to beat around the bush and have others talk to me about this, see if I don't teach you a lesson. The original owner really didn't leave any room for survival for himself. All I could do was forcefully maintain my dignity. Jiang Shi, Mom will teach you a principle. People often don't appreciate the things they easily get. Moreover, studying is a strenuous thing. If I easily agree to send you to school, you're very likely to slack off. The less I let you go to school, the more you want to go. Only when you have the desire and dream can you go further on this path in the future. Understand? Now the time is ripe. If you really want to go to school, I'll take you to interview at a prestigious school. If you don't want to, then just forget what I said. Jiang Shi was stunned, and for the first time his eyes revealed confusion looking at me. You're really willing to send me to school? Jiang Shi was so eager to learn that even though he still thought I was plotting something, the temptation was too great for him to resist. I took him to the mall and bought several sets of designer school uniforms. Jiang Shi refused to take them. I glared at him. Try it on quickly. Prestigious schools do not accept messy students. In the evening, after Jiang Shi took a bath, he changed into his brand new uniform. With his delicate features and fair skin, he looked like an exquisite porcelain doll. I contentedly stroked his face. Oh, you're so cute. Give Mom a kiss. Jiang Shi's face instantly flushed a bright red, and he spat out a word. Wicked woman! Even though he was still cursing me, his tone was noticeably less fierce than before. The next day, after paying the school fees, Professor Zhou agreed to let him start class tomorrow. Jiang Shi was like in a dream and didn't even react when I secretly patted his head and touched his face on the road. When we reached the entrance of our community, our usually quiet villa was surrounded by people. Auntie Jiang shouted loudly, "Oh, Jiang Shi's dad, you're finally back. Your son Jiang Shi is being tortured to death by his wicked stepmother." Exactly. It's almost winter, and Jiang Shi is still wearing a summer t-shirt. Which child can bear such cold? That child is truly pitiful. He's always hungry and steals bread from the supermarket, gnaws on expired food. A few days ago, he was about to drown when swimming in the pool, and I was the one who saved him. Jiang Shi's dad, whatever official position you hold as the head of the scientific research project, you should no longer need to go on business trips in future, right? If you have to leave, you must divorce that wicked woman first. I stood there, dumbfounded and shocked. According to the script, Jiang Muyuan was supposed to return not until at least 5 years later, and his position wasn't some project manager, but the director of a research institute. When Jiang Muyuan came back, he saw the miserable state of his son and immediately ordered the security guards to kick me out, terminating all my sources of income. How long has it been? How did he come back so early? My face was pale, while Jiang Shi bounded up in joy. "My dad's back! My dad's back!" He bounced a few times before he seemed to recall something, and his smiles gradually faded. "Heh, so that's what this is all about. No wonder you've been so solicitous these days. You vicious woman, knew that my dad was coming back and were deliberately trying to curry favor? It's too late now. You're evil. I need to tell my dad." Jiang Shi suddenly burst into tears. "Dad." The next second, Jiang Muyuan was holding him, stepping over the crowd and walking towards me. As he moved, his work badge crashed against his suit, making a slight sound. I foolishly stared at his sharp features, my first thought being, he's really handsome. No wonder Su Jin wanted to marry him. My second thought, I am doomed, Mom, save me. Let's discuss this back home. Jiang Muyuan cast a cold glance at me, his eyes filled with murderous intent. I instinctively recoiled, obediently following behind him. Oh no, am I going to be kicked out? Upon returning home, as soon as the villa's door was closed, Jiang Shi instantly began to complain. This wicked woman dresses me in second-hand clothes every day and does not feed me enough. Jiang Muyuan's eyebrows furrowed. You call what you're wearing second-hand clothes? Jiang Shi was wearing the name-brand children's clothing that I had just bought for him. A sapphire blue polo shirt paired with a little blazer, even embroidered with the brand's logo at the cuffs. He didn't look like a child from an ordinary family. He seemed more like a young master from a wealthy family. My original family were wealthy traders from the neighboring city, and when I married, my parents, who were worried that I would suffer poverty, presented me with an abundant dowry, so I saved it without spending a dime. With great difficulty, I went out to shop. I didn't care for those low-cost brand clothes. Naturally, I selected the expensive ones to buy. Jiang Shi looked down at his new garments, his cheeks instantly turning crimson. He wriggled out of Jiang Muyuan's arms. This wicked woman just bought these specially because she knew you were returning. The clothes I used to wear were not like this. I'll show you. Without another word, he stormed off into the wardrobe to look for something, only to return a moment later, pouting and glaring at me. The wicked woman threw away my clothes, Dad. She's so deceitful. It was then that I remembered that after giving him a bath and changing his clothes the previous night, I found several of his old clothes filthy and ragged, so I threw them into the trash and let our housemaid dispose of them. Ha ha ha, Sujin, you're such a sly little fox. My back straightened immediately. I glanced at Jiang Muyuan pitifully, pretending to wipe my tears. Xiaoxi has always disliked me. At this, Jiang Shi got furious, stomping his foot on the ground and burst into tears. She's a cruel witch. Dad, don't believe her. Jiang Muyuan looked at me thoughtfully and then suddenly turned and walked into the walk-in closet, rummaging through the clothes. If I did buy new clothes specifically for Jiang Shi today, they would only be autumn clothes. But the moment the closet opened, there were down jackets, thick winter clothes, and even summer short-sleeved t-shirts. The face of Jiang Shi darkened. He pointed at the full closet of clothes. Xiaoxi, explain this to me. I was gloating next to him. Xiaoxi, do you dislike your mom this much? Wah. Thank goodness I'm a shopaholic. Kids' clothes are just so cute. I couldn't help but buy several sets for all 4 seasons. Jiang Shi was furious. She just bought these yesterday. She knew you were coming, so she prepared in advance. Jiang Muiwan's face darkened even more. No one knew I was coming back. I'm just passing through City S on this business trip, and I took a detour to come and see you. I quickly grasped the main point, my eyes lighting up. So you'll be leaving soon? Jiang Muiwan nodded. I'll be leaving tomorrow. Ah, so soon? That's quite a pity. I pursed my lips, trying hard not to let myself laugh out loud. Go ahead, leave. By the time you come back next, I'll have completely brainwashed Xiaoxi so he will never again call me a wicked woman. Jiang Shi's eyes were red with grievance. I knew it! There's a stepmother, and now there's a stepfather. You're not my father anymore. With that, he ran off crying. Jiang Muiwan didn't chase after him, just stood there watching Jiang Shi's retreating figure, sighing deeply. You'll have to look after Xiaoxi from now on. No need to mention this among family. I'll go and cook for us. Jiang Muiwan returned home, and I deliberately went to a high-end supermarket to buy 2 portions of Wagyu beef steak. When paying for the items, the cashier and her coworker kept staring at me. Did she not get expelled from the wealthy family? Yeah, could it be that Jiang Muiwan thinks Su Jin is beautiful and can't bear to leave her? It seems that a man, once he has a woman, even his son becomes unimportant. I cleared my throat. Excuse me, I can hear you. Could you discuss this after I leave? The cashier rolled her eyes, put her hands on her waist, and said, What? You can do it, but others can't talk about it? Who are you to control other people's mouth? You're exactly the wicked stepmother. Jiang Muiwan should kick you out. The original host's wicked stepmother image is indeed deeply ingrained. During dinner that night, Jiang Shi was wolfing down his Wagyu beef steak. He blinked, and tears began to flow again. The wicked woman never let me have a full meal before. After saying that, worrying that Jiang Muiwan wouldn't believe, he rolled up his sleeve to show him how thin his arm was. See how thin I am? This is evidence. My hand tightly clasped the corner of the tablecloth under the table, trying to keep my composure as I explained. Jiang Shi has had a weak stomach since he was a little. He can only have porridge at night. We'll work on getting his health better slowly. It can't be rushed. Jiang Shi, eat a little less. You might get indigestion. Jiang Shi was so angry that he threw his fork away. In all my life, I've never heard of getting a stomachache from eating. You're trying to trick my dad again, you wicked woman. Little Jiang began to cry up a storm. Dad, take me with you. If you leave me at home, I'll be tormented to death by this wicked woman. Little Jiang, I just paid your tuition today. If you leave now, do you not want to attend the international school? I tried to squeeze out a smile, and sure enough, little Jiang immediately stopped crying, his face full of hesitation. Dad, can I go with you to your company? Do they have tutors there? Jiang Muiwan didn't respond to him and looked at me with slight surprise. The reason I circled back was to speak to you about this. You've already sent him to the international school? I put down my knife and fork and replied while wiping my mouth. But I only plan on having him attend for a term. The tutoring center next door is only for average students. It can only build the foundation for young children. Once they grow a bit older, it doesn't teach them much. So I want to send little Jiang to the international school in the city center. Firstly, the faculty in an international school far exceeds that of a tutoring center. And secondly, the people in our neighborhood have a habit of being envious and spreading rumors. I then theatrically wiped the corner of my eye with a napkin. I'm an outsider here. I spend money freely, and many people are displeased with me, constantly making things up about me. Little Jiang is young, easily influenced by them. It's hard for me, a stepmother, to educate him properly. I cried openly, leaving little Jiang dumbstruck, mouth agape as he stared blankly at me. Even Jiang Muyan started to feel awkward. He shot a glare at little Jiang and then turned his uneasy gaze back to me. I'm sorry you're going through this. You've been thoughtful, but the tuition for international schools is not cheap, and neither are the houses in the city center. Jiang Muyan pulled out a bank card from his suit pocket, passing it to me with a somewhat sheepish expression. This is what I've saved up over the years. Currently, the project is still in a secret phase, and I've only managed to save up 300,000. Please accept it. Wiping away my tears, I quickly accepted the bank card. It's okay. I still have some savings. If worst comes to worst, I can rent a place. After dinner, Jiang Muyan spontaneously began to wash the dishes and clear the table. I was walking around the living room to aid digestion after the meal. Jiang Shi was sitting on the sofa, his face red as he glared at me. You sly, bad woman. I will expose your true face. I walked over, squatting in front of him and poked his face. What should I do? It seems your father listens to me more. As I finished speaking, I barely touched him when suddenly Jiang Shi's complexion changed drastically, and he covered his stomach, wailing. I jumped in surprise. Hey, you're pulling a fast one, aren't you? No respect at all. By the time Jiang Muyan rushed out from the kitchen, Jiang Shi was already sweating profusely and writhing on the ground. Seeing him act this way, it didn't seem like he was faking. I immediately squatted to touch his face. Only then did I realize his skin was burning hot. Turns out, he had a fever. He has indigestion. Help me carry him to his bed first. In my previous life, my sister often brought her children home, and my niece also often suffered this kind of attack. She had a weak stomach, and if she ate a little more, she'd get a fever, cough, or stomachache at night. I would have to massage her stomach half the night. Jiang Shi usually dines only with porridge each day, so his stomach can't handle the high-fat steak all of a sudden. Do we need to call our family doctor? Jiang Muyan looks anxious. I rubbed Jiang Shi's belly clockwise while instructing him to find the hot water bottle in my cloakroom. No need. Our family doctor is currently overseas for a conference and wouldn't be available for the next few days. The round trip to the hospital will take 2 hours, not to mention the uncertainty of getting an appointment. I am giving him a massage. After using the restroom, he will feel much better. When in my embrace, Jiang Shi bursts into tears. Dad, don't listen to her. She must have poisoned me. You better find a doctor to save me. Jiang Muyan hesitates for a while as he is worried about his son. I would take the car. It won't take more than an hour. After Jiang Muyan leaves, Jiang Shi cries even louder. Wicked woman, I am doomed in your hands today. Enough! You, the future business tycoon, can't die even from skydiving? Stop whining. I increase my hand's pressure. Massage for a while, heat the hot water bag, and use it to warm Jiang Shi's belly. After all these efforts, he indeed wants to use the restroom. After going to the restroom several times, it is almost the same time Jiang Muyan and the doctor arrive as when Jiang Shi has already fallen asleep in bed. After the doctor examines him, he says discontentedly, the stomach discomfort is fortunately addressed in time. This boy has a weak digestive system. Parents shouldn't blindly push their kids to overeat. Eat and drink in moderation. Having some porridge at night will do just fine. No need to overeat. The child's digestion needs to be gently adjusted. There's no rush. Jiang Shi opened his eyes in a daze and conveniently heard this sentence, causing his eyes to bulge instantly, scaring off any sleepiness. Looking as though he'd been struck by lightning, I seized the opportunity, adeptly rolling up my sleeve to wipe the corner of my eye, and looked at Jiang Muyan with a pitiful look. I always say there's no need to call the doctor. I know that you still don't trust me. You two heartless father and sons. My deep affection has been wasted. Woo woo woo. Jiang Muyan took the doctor back to the city, with Jiang Shi falling asleep due due to his tender age. I covered him with a blanket, washed up, and went back to my room to sleep. Halfway in slumber, I suddenly felt a weight sink down next to me and a burning hot body pressed against me. I immediately stiffened. Jiang Muiwan's arm wrapped around my waist. "Sujin, you've worked hard these past years." His hot breath blew in my ear, giving me chills. Though Jiang Muiwan is incredibly handsome, we just met for the first time. I couldn't just go along with this. Feigning anger, I slapped away his hand. "Don't touch me!" Suddenly, Jiang Muiwan rolled over and pinned me underneath him. He held down my arm with one hand, preventing me from moving. The other hand slowly caressed my face, then trailed down my cheek to my throat and choked me. "Sujin, if you lie to me again, you'll pay the price." Jiang Muiwan's eyes were fierce, sparkling ominously in the dark. I was so scared that it brought me to tears. "What are you talking about? Let me go. I know my son. He has never lied since he was little." Jiang Muiwan's grip tightened, his hands constricting my throat till my eyes rolled back and I could barely breathe. "Before I come back, I had already investigated clearly how you've been abusing him these past years. Even though I don't know why you decided to behave all of a sudden, Sujin, I'm giving you one last chance. If you dare to commit another mistake, I'll make sure you fail and lose your reputation." Jiang Muiwan rolled out of bed, heading to the room next door to sleep with Jiang Shi. I sat on the bed hugging the blanket, sobbing uncontrollably. Damn, it's scary. If Jiang Shi decides to take me to court in the future, his father isn't any better. I didn't expect Jiang Muiwan to see through my deceit so easily. If he finds out one day that I'm not the real Sujin, would he arrest me as a fraud? Shuddering, I thought I should better earn more money. And once I've dissolved Jiang Shi's hatred towards me, I could take the money and run. When I woke up the next day, Jiang Muiwan had left, and Jiang Shi sat crying in the living room. Seeing me emerge, he wiped away his tears with a snort. "Dad's gone. Wicked woman. Stop pretending. I have to go to work. Don't think about bullying me." I walked over and knocked once on his head. "What work? Have you forgotten that today's a day for school? Prepare yourself and get back to your studies." Jiang Shi, forgetting his tears, looked surprised towards the door. "You're really letting me study? Dad's gone. You can stop acting." "Pa, you ungrateful little brat. Misinterpreting my kindness as meddling. Which past life karma did I accumulate to end up with both of you?" I take a backpack out of the study room, help him pack his books and stationery, and then take his hand. "Let's go. If you keep dawdling, you'll be late for school." On the way to school, Jiang Shi keeps his head down, occasionally stealing glances at me, quickly lowering his head and muttering unconsciously. Not letting me eat junk food is for my good. Scolding me is for my good. Wearing cheap clothes is also for my good. Did I really misinterpret her? From this, young Jiang Shi, knocking his head, fell into a state of huge confusion and doubt. The school runs classes throughout the day. Around noon, the school canteen provides lunch, but the dishes are so-so. Now is the time when Jiang Shi's body is growing, so I prepare chicken breast and boiled eggs and take them to his school at lunchtime. As soon as I walk into the school gate, I feel that something is not quite right. A few kids are making a commotion on the side. The homeroom teacher frowns, holding a teaching whip in one hand and going through Jiang Shi's backpack with the other. "Hand over the cell phone you stole." Jiang Shi stands tightly against the wall, a few red marks on his face, defiant. I did not steal his things. Some other kids see me and start clapping excitedly. "Jiang Shi, you're finished. Your wicked stepmother is here. Once she knows you've been stealing, she'll definitely break your legs." "Hey, your Jiang Shi stole Zhou Hao's stuff." Upon seeing me, Jiang Shi bit his lip hard, his body unconsciously trembling slightly. I put the thermal lunchbox on the table next to me, rolled up my sleeves, and rushed over. Jiang Shi closed his eyes in fear. I rushed to Jiang Shi, put him behind me, and glared at Teacher Zhou. "What the hell? Did you beat my son?" Is there such a teacher in this world who beats my child without asking for the right and wrong? Teacher Zhou apparently had never seen my dominant attitude. His face immediately turned red. This is outrageous. Jiang Shi stole Zhou Hao's tablet. You, as his mother, did not punish him, but instead are protecting him? Zhou Hao was sitting next to Jiang Shi. His sister, working overseas, had given him a latest model tablet, which he cherished and brought to school to show off. Unexpectedly, the tablet was gone after one class. It's ridiculous. He lost his stuff. What evidence do you have to prove that it was our Jiang Shi who took it? The look on Teacher Zhou's face was extremely grim. Whether he took it or not, a quick search will tell. Then he tried to grab Jiang Shi's school bag again, and the other children also joined in the heckling. Search his bag to see where he hid it. I was thoroughly pissed. Want a search? Fine, go ahead. Come with me now. We're going to the police station. We'll have the police search. If there's no tablet on Jiang Shi, I'll sue you on the spot for framing a minor. Framing someone is a crime, punishable by law. You're a teacher. Surely you understand this. I reached out to pull the teacher, Zhou. Let's go, right now. Teacher Zhou was terrified. Nowadays, teachers fear public scandal the most. Once it escalated, even without mentioning the rest, his teaching career would undoubtedly be ruined. You're being unreasonable. I'm his teacher. How could you do this to me? As I insisted on causing a scene, suddenly, a small voice came from a corner. Stop fighting. I saw the tablet. A little boy pointed to the nearby bookshelf. It must have been accidentally dropped behind the bookshelf when Zhou Hao was flipping through the books. The truth was out. I compelled Teacher Zhou to apologize to Jiang Shi, but he flung his sleeve in refusal. I've never heard of a teacher apologizing to a student before. Don't come to my class again. I can't handle troublemakers like you in this elementary school. Don't worry. I wouldn't want to either. But you must refund this semester's tuition in full. Otherwise, I'll report you to the Education Bureau. Teacher Zhou was fuming, his face turning an ashen color. But he had no choice. He quickly fetched his checkbook from his office and wrote me a check. With a stepmother like you, that child will be ruined sooner or later. Haha, when our small boy eventually becomes a giant in the business world, your son won't even be able to find a decent job. Jiang Shi is 7 years old this year, and Teacher Zhou's son is already 12. As soon as he heard these words, he couldn't help but get angry. Him? To become a tycoon? If he ever becomes a mogul in the business world, I'll kneel in front of the school gate and apologize for what happened today. All right, I'll keep your promise. Xiaoxi, let's go. I pulled Jiang Shi along and proudly left the school. Xiaoxi, remember that you did nothing wrong. If Teacher Zhou is wrong and still hits you, you can run. Why just stand there and let him hit you? If anything like this happens again in the future, come and tell me. Mom will never let anyone bully you. Along the way, Jiang Shi kept his head down and didn't say anything. But for the first time, he didn't shake off my hand. In such a state, we couldn't continue studying, so I simply packed up and took Jiang Shi to the city. I enrolled him in a private school, while I wandered around the city, looking for opportunities to start a small business. Seasons came and went. The years flew by. Jiang Shi has grown from a small boy to a young man of elegance and grace. Although I'm married, I look like a single mother. Just imagine how difficult it is for a young and beautiful single mother to start a business in today's society. Every day, I have to bring food to Jiang Shi and also manage my online store, using all my effort, only to save a mere 300,000 over the past few years. However, now I've managed to secure tuition and living expenses for Jiang Shi. 300,000 is not too little. It's enough for me to rent an apartment in the province's capital and live comfortably for a few years. Moreover, I'm only 35 years old, an ideal age in modern society to be in the growth stage of one's career, and it's high time to take a leap. This year, Zhang Muyan is about to return to our home country, so I'm planning to transfer my online store and find an opportunity to leave when I get the chance. Before leaving, I'll confirm our mother-son relationship one last time. while Jiang Shi and I are having dinner. I look at the salad in my bowl and suddenly let out a sigh. Shi, I've been making you eat these healthy meals for so many years. You don't blame me, do you? The age of 7 is a phase of memory loss in children. After turning 7, a person will forget most of the childhood memories. With my daily influence, Jiang Shi vaguely remembers always feeling hungry as a child, frequently catching a cold, and it was because I was thinking about his health that I made him eat healthy meals. As expected, he laughs lightly and puts down his fork. Mom, there you go again. I was misled by our neighbors when I was small, and often doubted your intentions. That was my fault. You have brought it up quite a few times over the years. Then he stands up, walks over to me, hugs me, and puts his cheek against mine. It was all my fault, Mom. When I become a big shot in the business world in the future, how about I buy you a mansion to apologize? Haha, a mansion is a good idea. But it's most important that you be successful. I lean against this handsome young man and laugh happily. I've managed to secure this future business elite. Little did I know I had celebrated too early. Just when I was planning to escape, Jiang Wei returned to the country earlier than expected. One day when Jiang was on holiday, he was busy making cakes in the back kitchen of my dessert shop, sweating profusely. Sister Zhao from the shop next door excitedly rushed in and grabbed my hand, tears trickling down her face. Sister Sujin, your hard days are finally over. You've been both the mother and father these past few years. It's really been tough. Now that your husband is back, you don't have to put up with hardships anymore. I heard he is now some big shot in the tech industry and plans to bring you guys to the capital to enjoy a good life. You better hurry to the front car park to greet him. The mayor came to welcome him personally. Soon, Jiang Weiyuan walked into the store dressed smartly in a suit, surrounded by a group of business tycoons and politicians. Seeing me standing there nervously, he scanned me from head to toe, his face darkening. I still have some family matters to settle. Suddenly, a gentle voice emanated from the luxury car next to us. President Jiang, it has been many years. Perhaps we should clarify matters before jumping to conclusions. We wouldn't want to wrong the innocent. The car door opened, and out came a lady dressed extravagantly, covered in luxury brand attire, her neck adorned with an exquisite pearl necklace. Following closely behind her was a little girl, about 8 or 9 years old, with a trendy hairstyle, her eyes as black as grapes, staring curiously at me. My mind buzzed in disbelief. My God, why have the protagonist and her mother shown up so early? The protagonist, Du Wanru, her father passed away early, and her mother, also named Du Wanru, raised her single-handedly. They were forced to leave their city and seek refuge with their grandpa in the capital. Her grandpa, being a high official in a department, wrote a letter to Jiang Weiyuan, complaining about the hardships they had on the lonely and distant journey, and asked Jiang Weiyuan to take them both to the capital. Coincidentally, Du Wanru hired an assistant a few years back, who happened to be Aunt Jiang, who lived next door to me. According to the original plot, Aunt Jiang tearfully complains about my actions, causing Jiang Weiyuan to scold me fiercely upon witnessing the pitiful state of his own son, and made his people drive me away. Du Wanru pitied Jiang's upbringing, constantly cared for him, and the protagonist followed Jiang all day long, calling him brother constantly, warming the never-loved heart of Jiang. I watched Du Wanru speak gently, comforting Jiang Weiyuan. Aunt Jiang mentioned that they left the city 5 years ago, and she worked with me for 4 years. She hasn't asked about Sister Sue's matters since. Perhaps she's reformed, hasn't she? We should reserve our judgments until we meet her again. No sooner had the words left his mouth than Jiang Shi burst out from the kitchen like a cannonball, hesitating before stopping in front of Jiang Weiyuan. Dad? Tears appeared to well up in Jiang Weiyuan's eyes. With a tight hug, he glared at his son, who was wiping his sweaty forehead with his sleeves, and chided him. Why aren't you studying? Jiang Shi was just about to explain when Du Wanru cut him off. She took out a handkerchief to gently wipe the corners of her eyes and gently said, You should be studying in a prestigious school at such an age. Sister Sue, how could you let Shi work in the shop? You are being too selfish. You are compromising Shi's future. Jiang Muyan also coldly interjected. Su Jin, explain yourself. Before I could speak, Jiang Shi could no longer hold back. Who are you to meddle with my family affairs? Calling me Shi as though we're close? Jiang Muyan frowned. Irreverent. Shi, how could you? Shut up. Jiang Shi roared out, more ferocious than Jiang Muyan. What right do you have to lecture me? You left for 5 years and completely disappeared. My mom struggled to raise me all by herself, and now that you've returned, you dare to lose your temper at her? You even let this dubious woman defame my mom. Are you out of your mind? Jiang Shi's chest was heaving intensely as he glared at Jiang Muyan, resembling an angry bull. He shot a dubious look at Du Wanru, then at Jiang Muyan. His eyes went wide open with shock. Have you been having an affair? Good for you, Jiang Muyan. With a blink of Jiang Shi's eyes, tears rolled down his cheeks. He walked over and put his arm around my shoulders. He had grown so tall, almost as tall as me. My mom has worked tirelessly for so many years, and this is how you treat her? Jiang Muyan, from today on, I don't consider you my father. Take your mistress and leave. I don't care about being the son of a tech mogul. All I want is my mom. Finishing his words, he solemnly took my hand. Mom, don't worry. I will study hard. As long as I'm here, I will never let you suffer. Moved to the brink of tears, I threw myself into Jiang Shi's arms, sobbing incessantly. My son, having you is enough. And so, standing tall and proud like an enviable, domineering CEO, was my dutiful son, providing for his mother. Jiang Muyan was stunned on the spot by his son's words, unsure of what to do next. Du Wanru, however, was unwilling to let it go. She signaled her daughter to call over Aunt Jiang. Xiaoxi, is there some misunderstanding? Do you remember Aunt Jiang from our company? As soon as Aunt Jiang arrived, she started crying at the sight of Jiang Shi, describing with added colors the things he experienced during his childhood. Poor child, to end up in the hands of a heartless stepmother. Jiang Shi shot an annoyed glance at Jiang Muyan, so angry his fists clenched, ready to explode any moment. How did you end up as a chief scientist? You're not the only one being fooled, aren't you? Why did Mom limit the amount of food I ate? That's because I've had a weak stomach from childhood. Eating too much often resulted in indigestion. Why did she encourage me to exercise more? She wanted to cultivate a healthy lifestyle from a young age. I have had good physical strength from childhood. Why was I only sent to learn programming at the age of 7? That was because she wanted me to cherish the opportunity to learn. She carried me in her womb for 10 months. How can she possibly harm me? Cough, cough. I coughed lightly, gently tugging on Jiang Shi's sleeve. Enough, enough. I am the stepmother. You are not my biological child. So what if she's my stepmother? To me, she's as good as my own mother. On the other hand, Jiang Muyan, you who are supposed to be my biological father, have shown no concern for me all these years. If it wasn't for my mother, I would have been sent to an orphanage long ago. Now, what sort of authority are you trying to assert? Being the future business elite that he is, Jiang Shi didn't hold back, leaving Jiang Muyan questioning his life decisions. He stood there, reflecting on the years of misunderstandings and realizing how much I had suffered because of them. Later that evening, back at the villa, Jiang Muyan felt even more remorseful, knowing Jiang Shi was only home for the holidays. He didn't dare to let Du Wanru and her daughter stay over, instead arranging for them to go to a hotel, and then repentantly explaining the situation to us. When he mentioned that he was only helping a colleague by letting her daughter intern at his company, Jiang Shi snorted, his attitude softening considerably. You shouldn't have gotten so close to them. Don't you understand that men and women should keep a certain distance? That Mrs. Du calling you every hour clearly indicates ulterior motives. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Du Wanru and I are the same age, and at 35, being addressed as Mrs. still felt somewhat young. Jiang Muyan bowed his head even lower. It was short-sighted of me. His authoritative aura of a renowned scientist was nowhere to be found. He was being scolded like a child, and Jiang Shi seemed more like the parent. That night, Jiang Shi refused to leave me alone with Jiang Muyan. Mom, he disappeared for years, and when he came back, he brought a woman with him. It makes me uncomfortable. I need to evaluate him further. You can't just forgive him easily. Influenced by me over the years, Jiang Shi's mind was devoid of any traditional notions of male superiority. He didn't want my years of hardship to go in vain, so he insisted on having a heart-to-heart with his father that night in the study. They talked about the past few years, their conversation lasting well into the night. Jiang Muyuan needed to hurry back to the research institute to report on his work. Jiang Shi was saying goodbye to his college mentor. And after I transferred my ownership of the coffee shop, our family quickly embarked on the journey. On the way, Jiang Shi was on high alert, refusing to let Du Wanru even have a chance to exchange a word with Jiang Muyuan. Du Wanru was trying to win Jiang Shi over with some snacks. "Brother Jiang Shi, try this. My mom just made it at the hotel." My mom's desserts are 1,000,000 times better than yours. What's there to show off about?" Jiang Shi coldly smirked and walked away, leaving Du Wanru standing there all by herself, her eyes welling up with tears. I couldn't help but chuckle, teasing him in a casual manner. "She's just trying to curry favor with you, not showing off." Jiang Shi grumbled under his breath. "I just can't stand those two, mother and daughter." I chuckled and said, "You might not stand them now, but who knows? Maybe as you grow up, you might want to chase after Du Wanru." Upon hearing this, Jiang Shi's face darkened. "Mom, what are you talking about? If her mother dares to bully you, there's no way I could ever like her. And the thing I hate the most is their whole act. A girl should be strong and independent just like you, and should be articulate." I sighed inwardly. Oh no, I have definitely skewed Jiang Shi's aesthetic taste. Being a beautiful single mother running a coffee shop in the city center, I couldn't avoid attracting all sorts of peculiar people. But I wasn't the least bit intimidated. Always on standby behind the counter was my pepper spray. Anyone who dares to mess with me gets a face full. I put up a fight like there's no tomorrow. Jiang Shi watched me in admiration rather than embarrassment, always praising me to his classmates. "My mom is really awesome. My mom doesn't fear anyone. I realized as long as you show strength, things aren't as scary as they seem." The character of a future business magnate was gradually taking shape. Once we got back to the research institute, crazier things happened. Jiang Shi wouldn't let Jiang Muyan share a room with me. "Dad, I haven't finished investigating, just wait a bit longer." Jiang Muyan was utterly exasperated. I was wrong in the past. I misunderstood your mother deeply. I've already apologized to her." Jiang Shi ignored him. "Well, I don't care. You haven't passed my approval yet." Jiang Muyan had no choice but to keep a low profile all the time. Despite his confidence as a respected scientist at work, when he got home, he was overly cautious to please me, offering gifts and stuff. In modern society, it's super tough for single mothers to raise children. These past years, I've gone through a lot raising Jiang Shi. Now, Jiang Muyan is the chief scientist on a national key project. He's also quite handsome. Regardless of how prestigious he is outside, he is full of guilt for Jiang Shi, completely wheedled by our son and taking great care of me. I suddenly feel that life isn't so bad this way. Living together for a few days, with Jiang Muyuan's sincere attitude and heartfelt apologies, I seemed to grow more used to his presence. One day, Jiang Muyuan handed me a delicate blue velvet jewelry box. Inside are custom-made ruby earrings. After tomorrow, Minister Zhang from the technology department is hosting a banquet at his home. He sent me an invitation. "Sujin, would you like to join me?" Let me think about it. As I took the jewelry box, Jiang Muyan gently placed his hand on the back of mine, with a sad smile. "Sujin, how long are you planning to hold this grudge?" A gentle April breeze blew softly. Jiang Shi looked down at me. His tall nose and thick eyelashes somehow made my heart skip a beat. Seeing that I didn't pull away, Jiang Shi's eyes brightened, and he slowly wrapped his arms around my waist. "Could you forgive me?" "What are you two doing?" Jiang Shi's sharp reprimand made Jiang Shi and I separate instantly, as if we were shocked by electricity. "Dad, how many times have I told you? Stop bothering Mom when I'm not around." Jiang Shi glared at me with an admittedly defeated look, and I guiltily lowered my head. All because of the foe being too handsome. His firepower was so fierce, it was a bit too hard to resist. In the evening, Jiang Shi came to lecture me again. "Mom, all men are like this. They won't cherish what they get easily. Have you forgotten how you had once tried to stop me from learning programming? He will only yearn for you if he can't get you. Only then he will realize your worth." You're right. I was hit by the sugar-coated bullet. On the day of the banquet, I saw Du Wanru at the party. Her uncle, a high-ranking official in the Department of Technology, was expected to be there. "So, you must be Mrs. Jiang? Haha, just as the rumors go. Mrs. Jiang, you rose from nothing, offering nothing but the essentials." I, the bystander with a carefree demeanor, seen as coarse and unsophisticated in the eyes of these noble ladies, not fit for public appearances. The several ladies present obviously had a sweet spot for Du Wanru, making sarcastic remarks openly and secretly. "I'm on the world's 15. Slightly eruptions last night in the cosmos. There was much." I heard Mrs. Jiang raised her child single-handedly. The child is now 18 years old. How did he do in his college entrance exam? The average high school student would be in university by 18. This question was a veiled insult, suggesting that the child I raised lacked education. Before I could respond, Jiang Shi happened to stroll by with a few young men to greet the ladies. He overheard their conversation. Seeing his expression, I sensed trouble. "Oh no, my son's about to let loose. God have mercy on you. Isn't this Madame Zhao? My mother started from scratch, and my education certainly cannot compare to Zhao Yuan. For this year's ACM International Collegiate Programming Contest, I am simply there to make up the numbers. Zhao Yuan could definitely get the gold medal." After Jiang Shi finished speaking, everyone was shocked. Zhao Yuan, who was standing by the side, widened his eyes as if he had seen a ghost. "What, Jiang Shi? You are only 18 this year and you're participating in the ACM contest? Are you joking?" Jiang Shi frowned. "When the skills are there, you naturally want to give it a try. Zhao Yuan, you're 21 this year. Don't tell me you haven't prepared to compete yet? Maybe I am reckless. I'm just a naive adult who can't compare to your prestigious students who only play when they are sure to win." After Jiang Shi said this, Zhao Yuan's face turned red, and he managed to say, "I have also registered for the competition." Everyone else was amazed and began to praise Zhao Yuan for his achievements at such a young age, and mocking Jiang Shi for not knowing his own limits. Jiang Shi remained calm and provoked Zhao Yuan into a bet. Whoever ranks higher will give the other one $1 million as a reward. When I got back home, I complained that Jiang Shi was too impulsive. "Son, your mother always disregard idle chatter. Why do you need to argue with others and disrupt your own rhythm?" After all, Jiang Shi is only 18 this year. In his previous life, he established his own technology company at 21, had an IPO at 23, and then became the youngest tech giant. "Don't worry, Mom. No one can bully you in front of me." Jiang Shi clenched his fists and rushed into the study room to program all day and night, without any regard to monitor me and Zhang Muchuan. The day the competition results were announced, Minister of Technology held a banquet again and invited all parties. He promised that whoever wins the gold medal today will receive an additional $2 million as a reward. Lady Zhao sat in the guest seat, sneering. "Starting from scratch? He has nothing else, but he sure is thick-skinned. I can't believe he dares to come to such an occasion today." Du Wanru also followed with a teasing remark. "Jiang Shi's temperament is exactly like his mother's." Jiang Shi lightly smiled. Lady Zhao, if everyone is sitting here, why wouldn't I dare to come? Jiang Muyuan coughed lightly, his face slightly flushed. Son, are you confident? Jiang Shi didn't look at him, instead turning to look at me. Mom, don't worry. Soon, there was some commotion in the distance. A staff member holding a tablet computer hurried into the banquet hall. Is Mr. Jiang Shi here? Congratulations, Mr. Jiang, for winning the gold medal in the ACM International Collegiate Programming Contest. The room was in an uproar. Everyone stood up with faces of shock looking towards Jiang Shi. A gold medal? An 18-year-old gold medalist? Is there a mistake? The Minister of Technology chuckled loudly, pounding on the table. Excellent! Such a young and talented genius! Jiang Muyuan, I, as the minister, have never envied anyone in my life, but for the first time, I envy you for having such a wonderful son. Mrs. Zhao rushed to ask, What about my son? Did Zhao Yuan receive a medal? The secretary spread out the tablet she was holding in her hands, quickly skimmed through it, and then shook her head, saying, Sorry, I did not see Zhao Yuan's name. Zhao's face instantly turned pale, and she stumbled and collapsed onto the couch. Zhao Yuan beside her argued defensively, I am only in my early 20s. It is no big deal if I didn't get this project. Mrs. Zhao reached out and slapped him. Rubbish. Someone else was independently in charge of a project at 18, and you in your 20s are still unable to manage. What a waste. Zhao Yuan became angry. They only got credit because of their excellent mother guiding them. If you were as capable as her, I could also be receiving awards. After saying this, they stormed out of the conference room, fuming. Lady Zhao's face turned bright red. She hurriedly put down $1 million check on the table, seized the opportunity to dart out after her departing son. On her way out, she couldn't help but curse. What's so extraordinary? Just a precocious prodigy who might eventually run out of steam. In the evening, Jiang Muyuan, slightly drunk, knocked on my door. Su Jin. There was a modest blush on his face, but his eyes sparkled with excitement. You've done a great job of educating our child. To think that I've listened to others and misunderstood you because of your painstaking efforts. I really— Shut up! With a feigned look of annoyance, I pulled Jiang Muyuan by the tie into my room, quickly peeking outside. We better hurry before our son notices. The next morning, we came out of the room looking disheveled and were caught red-handed by Jiang Shi. I panicked like a child caught doing something wrong. Son, let me explain. Jiang Shi didn't look at me, just coldly stared at Jiang Muyuan. What do you have to say? Jiang Muyuan bowed his head in shame. Since we are husband and wife, Xiao Shi, won't you really forgive me? Jiang Shi crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking at us with an expression of regretful frustration. No forgiveness. Unless you treat my mother well for a lifetime. You can only be good to her. You can't find other women. No mistresses. You have to pamper my mom. You can't lie to her. Scold her. You have to agree to all her requests. Jiang Shi chattered on and on. I listened in amazement. But the light in Jiang Muyuan's eyes became brighter and brighter. He let out a hearty laugh, one arm holding me tight and the other around Jiang Shi. Okay, I promise all. In this lifetime, with you two, I desire nothing else. The three of us hugged tightly together, and the surface of Jiang Shi's face could no longer keep its composure, his mouth curling up slightly to reveal a smile. Dad, it's not enough. Let Mom give me a little sister. I will give her all the best things in the world. End of the book. Extra chapter. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye, and Jiang Shi was now 22 years old. He had been the star of his college graduation, but the ensuing slander and questioning had come at him like tidal waves. People were saying, it seems like a case of too much, too soon. This brilliant mind, the one who founded a unicorn company at just 20, has utterly disappeared from the scene in these past 5 years. Not a whisper of any new endeavors. Meanwhile, Duanru's daughter also got engaged. Her future husband was just 25 but already the technical director of a renowned tech company. A technical director at 25, his prospects were truly endless. Du Wanru often appeared at various occasions making snide and sarcastic remarks. Some people just find it hard to keep their feet on the ground after a little success. They believe they're so incredibly important. I heard Jiang Shi didn't even launch a single new project in these 5 years. I sipped my champagne elegant, a content look on my face. Madame Du is perhaps under an incorrect impression. My son is currently in the process of preparing a major project. Just you wait, it's about to be announced. Du Wanru laughed coldly. Ha, it took him 5 years to make a move. Is he really holding back and waiting to bring some disruptive breakthrough to the table? Right after her comment, a wave of phone notifications echoed through the hall. Breaking news! Genius Jiang Shi announces the world's first quantum computer operating system. Du Wanru's champagne glass fell to the floor at the announcement. I also feigned surprise. Oh dear, this is so awkward. I must rush back to the company to handle the follow-up. Madame Du, please be our guest at the launch event in a few days. Du Wanru didn't visit, but the following year, on the day Jiang Shi was honored at the Fortune's Top 40 Under 40 Awards ceremony, she turned up with her daughter. Dressed in a custom suit, standing in the spotlight, Jiang Shi confidently waved to the audience. Du Wanru was enraptured. I always feel like he should belong to me, Du Wanru murmured to herself, and I sighed in regret. He truly was supposed to be, but alas, you arrived too late. Jiang Shi did not grow up in hardship. He has a complete personality. He would not be bound for life due to a bit of kindness and warmth. He works so hard studying, exerting great effort in innovating. He should stand in the crowd, attracting everyone's attention and shining brilliantly.